Yeah.
But, you got to do what you got to do. What else? I was going to ask something else, and my whole brain just went. Now, being in France and all, and in Europe and all, have you noticed over there that the book is being received better than it is in the United States? I'm curious because.
Oh yeah, my books sell really well in Europe.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that because when I talk to a lot of my European friends that are ufologists like Nick Pogue and a few of the others, they tell me that it's easier to deal with this subject over there than it is over here.
Oh,
and of course, that bothers me because I consider the Brits to be more uptight than the Americans.
Yeah.
But yet they still accept this subject.
Well, I've got it out in French and Spanish, and it's being translated into German.
Oh,
And the French and Spanish versions are doing really well. I mean, it's.
Well, it sounds like it's going to do okay, and I don't think, and like I said, I'm glad having you on today because this little interview today, and I'll get Linda to bring you on in the future again, but this interview today is going to dispel a lot of the BS flying around the internet and through ufology now. So it should make Richard's life.
I don't know if it'll dispel anything because people will believe what they want to believe.
Yeah, well, I'm hard to get away from, and my network.
Richard came over and checked me out himself.
Yeah,
and that's
see,
why
that was
he
the
wrote
thing,
what he wrote, and he wrote it because he knows. We talk. We spent a lot of time talking and interacting together.
Well, see, now he can say, well, you know what? Because everybody considers me very skeptical to start off with, and sometimes even rude. He can say, well, Joe Montaldo interviewed her. It's posted to the internet. Why don't you go listen for yourself and formulate your own opinion? And that will help. It's not going to give rid of everybody by any means, Laura, but it will help a lot of the dissension that's been going on now. Because in the interview, you sound really bright. You're doing a real good job of articulating yourself. You don't sound like some of the like Billy Myers and Nancy Leader and them, which is what I think people were expecting you to sound like. And so right off the bat, that's going to make Richard's life that much easier. And he'll get that much less BS over it. And still, I don't know why they're picking on him about it anyway. If they got a problem, they should write you.
Yeah, and well, I think it's a concerted effort.
I think there's a group of people out there right now that just want to pick on Richard.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what he's doing is a really fantastic piece of work of exposing, just how much is really going on. And if they can use, me and my so-called weird ideas to smear him, that's something they're going to try to do. And people shouldn't really let them do that to Richard.
No, I don't think they should.
If I could take it back and say, Richard, you shouldn't have written this nice review for my book. We shouldn't have published it in the book. Whatever. But how are we going to know that just by telling the simple, honest truth as we see it,
that all this was
used to try to hurt us?
And but that's typical. That is just typical in today's ufology community.
So I'm hoping all the people of goodwill who care about Richard, just if you care about Richard, you don't have to care about me.
Yeah. I got to be honest with you. I think this was brought about by some of the old timers. I think there's some jealousy issues going on here. Because with the exception of maybe two other speakers, Richard's probably one of the more prominent speakers in the field right now. And I'm thinking that some of the laymen and some of the older ones are a little jealous of it. And it's causing him a little problem. But
well, he came in here and he brought some method.
Yep. And
he brought scientific methods to the whole issue. And he's dealing with data, with facts, not belief, not leaping off into, there's aliens on Mars. I mean, that's a hypothesis.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, it's a good point, too, because that's exactly what it is. It's just a hypothesis. There's no real proof to it or anything.
There's all kinds of things that are possible. There's some things that are plausible. There are a few things that are hypothetical.
Yep.
But we still need to deal with data, hard data. And that's what Richard does, and he does it better than anybody else does it. And just because a lot of his data, backs up some of the material or even a lot of the material in my so-called channeling experiment, doesn't mean that my experiment should reflect on his data collection. His data is pure. It's clean.
Yeah, I'm going to put a think tank together for us so we can do away with that channeling word. We'll find some other words. Well, no, because really and truly, it's the word. It's not what you were doing, because when we talk about use of tools, that's quite acceptable in both ufology and paranormal. It's just the word. People, they hear it. And it's because of a select few people out there. It has nothing to do with the overall groups that are out there. It's just 3 or 4 people who use the word channeling. That, of course, makes everybody else. And so you're not doing what like the other channelists do. You're not like what like Nancy and them do. It's not the same thing. So really, we do need to come up with a new term for it, and I think that would eliminate some of the BS. But still, people need to learn to look beyond certain
How about
things.
prosthetic communication?
That might work. That might work. We got to come up with something because, oh man, it's insanity out there these days, and you got to wonder about half these people and why. And I still, like I said, I did not see why they had this personal attack against him. And I do think a couple of people in ufology are behind it. I really do. I don't think this has anything to do with you per se. I really think that there's some people that just want to tarnish.
Do you think it's just people in ufology, or do you think it may be officials in high places?
I think it's both. Because I learned a long time ago some key people in ufology, especially in MUFON, but in some other parts of ufology, are directly linked to government.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I think they're plants, and I think some of them are plants knowingly, and I think some of them are plants not knowingly.
Unknowingly.
So, yeah.
Well, it's the same. The whole metaphysical field is full of that. The whole paranormal field, the alternative news. It's just amazing. Like it's signal to noise, and that's something that what's his name, John McDonald, talked about, was the signal to noise ratio.
Yeah.
And there's so much noise that it really takes a lot of patience and time and care, and getting your hands dirty in the data itself to be able to pick out the signal from the noise.
Yeah, they just don't want us to know. They don't. They want to keep as much of this to themselves as they can, and mostly because of power and stuff like that. I'm sure there's some financial involved, especially with some of this, but I think this is more about let's just keep as much a secret as we can and keep as much control as we can, because if too much of it gets out, they lose control.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they definitely don't want people like us out there talking about it, because then, then it's going to change people's opinions and minds. And so I'll give you an example. A friend of mine who's in politics, he said, Joe, y'all are a threat to politicians because y'all give alternative ideas and designs and alternative lifestyles other than what the government wants us to do. I said, well, last I checked, we live in a free country. We can do whatever the hell we want. And I said, I know they're trying to take those rights away. I said, but as of now, it's still a free country, and we should be able to live and do what we want to. And I said, you just sound like every other politician that just want to keep control and make us all just do what you want us to do. I said, but that's not what we're here for.
Yeah, well, exactly. And there's one thing that I would like to get in here, just a little blurb for a friend of mine who promotes this idea that there are 4 things that can really help all of us. Starting right now, and that's to eat fresh food, whole food. Don't eat anything packaged or prepared.